We're about to meet our keynote speaker, who is from IBM, and she's got such a marvelous and intriguing bio that I have to read you this. Some of it. It's very exciting, and I'm really looking forward to hearing her. So our keynote speaker is Ms. Mai Lu from IBM, and at IBM, she is Program Director of Global Innovation Solutions and Policy for IBM for their Accessibility Division, which provides solutions to address the needs of people with disabilities, as well as those with low literacy and or cognitive challenges, and those in the aging population. Prior to her current position, Ms. Lu was a market development executive leading emerging markets for IBM's Global Women's Initiative, which helps women business owners gain access to affordable technology to launch and grow their businesses. Concurrently with that, Ms. Lu led the strategy for IBM's Base of the Pyramid initiative, which leveraged technological innovations to address the needs of the 4 billion people on this planet who each earn less than $5 a day. Before joining IBM in 1999, Ms. Lu was a diplomat at the U.S. Embassy in Uzbekistan, covering foreign affairs, economic development, and ethnic conflict. I won't tell you all the other things she did because it's too many. In the community, Ms. Lu is president of the Yale Alumni Association of New York. A Chinese American, she was born in Vietnam and lived for 13 months at a refugee camp in Malaysia before immigrating to the U.S. in 1980. Ms. Lu has completed 8 marathons. She wanted to make sure you in places like Alaska and Australia and Bhutan and Iceland and Ireland and a bunch of others, and she's registered now for one in Antarctica. And apparently one of her life goals is to make sure she does a marathon on all 7 continents. She holds an MBA from Cornell University and a BA from Yale College. Ms. Lu has lived and worked and traveled in more than 45 countries and speaks Cantonese, Spanish, Russian, and luckily for us, she speaks wonderful English. It's a very big honor for me to introduce to you Ms. Mai Lu.
Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you, Karen and Bill, for inviting me to join you all today. It is my honor and pleasure to be here. Karen mentioned my running. I actually run to justify my eating, frankly. That's the main reason for doing all these marathons. And some folks ask, well, why do you have such a long title? And the answer to that is, basically anything that no one else wants to do, they throw my way. So my team does the catch-all of all the projects and help out any way we can. I'm joking, of course. We do a lot at IBM Accessibility, and I'll talk about some of that. But before I get started, let's give another huge round of applause to the award recipient. And we'll start off this morning with some dispelling of myths. How about that? So we hear a lot about disability and accessibility, and sometimes we hear about compliance, right? Because we don't think about accessibility first and foremost often as something we have to do, right? Why do we feel that way? Why do we feel like it's something we have to do? What else could it be? And this is going to be a very interactive session, so I want you all to chime in at any time you want. What do you think about when you think about accessibility? Does it have to be about compliance? It doesn't, right? So what about thinking about accessibility as a business driver, right? So let's change our mindset a bit. And let's get our colleagues, right, and our partners and others in the community to think about accessibility differently. So that's one myth that we're going to dispel today. We're also going to talk about accessibility as a niche market, right, and how it traditionally affects people with disabilities primarily. But does it have to be that way? No, not at all, right? So how about thinking about accessibility as affecting all of us, right, as individuals, right, just as human beings? How do we address the needs of everyone, right, versus just a particular market segment? Another myth that we're going to dispel today is about accessibility accommodations being expensive and how the return on investment is hard to justify. Does it have to be that way? No, not at all, right? So you have to build a business case, right, so that accessibility isn't considered simply as an expense, right? How do you make this a business opportunity, right? And how do you create client loyalty and brand equity around accessibility? Because if you can do that, right, your organization, your company will be so excited about your program that they'll come to you, right, and ask about how you can help launch these programs for the rest of the organization. And then another myth we're going to dispel is that accessibility is an add-on. Does it have to be an add-on? No. Should it be an add-on? Exactly. It should not be an afterthought. Right? This is something that accessibility should be something that is integrated into the original design and development of everything, right? So that it's not an afterthought, so that it's not an add-on, right? So that it's not as expensive to integrate and implement. So I'm going to have a video done. I'm technically, despite working for a big information technology company, I'm actually technically challenged. So let's see if this works. We'll try to get this video going, and you'll be able to hear some of the and it's playing video, so let's hope this works. Is it working?
Assistive technology is very important because it respects individuals' different abilities. So, in a way, it's really a technology with a profound purpose.
We have a renewed focus on human-centered design that engages human beings and humanity.
The fact that we can bring technology that enhance individual human beings' productivity and happiness makes our job just, that much exciting and rewarding.
I think as designers, accessible design should just be part of our DNA. It shouldn't even be something you should have to think about as part of how you breathe. If design is responsible for the user experience, and that's what we're accountable for, then we need to be thinking about that up front. It also means we need to do the hard work to understand what it means to have an accessible design.
Ideally, design and accessibility should go hand in hand. Things like layout and page, high contrast, good information architecture can all be things that improve accessibility and your design as a whole. I think it's important for designers to get an understanding of accessibility, understand what the disabilities are, the challenges that they propose to users, and developing empathy for those users.
I think we have a unique responsibility to the world, being who we are, to design for inclusion. The differentiation that we can drive into the marketplace by designing intentionally to reach every possible human being on the planet, regardless of their technical capability. I think it could possibly be one of the key differentiators that our portfolio has in the marketplace.
Don't think of this as something that you add end or something that you're doing as a bandage to the application to fix it for a specific group of people. Think of something that you're doing to redesign the application for everyone that makes it so it's a better experience for anyone, regardless of their level of the accessibility spectrum.
Understanding the mental model of the user and the goals the user has in accomplishing an action or an interaction within your UI can make the design overall better for anyone.
We want to create great experiences. If you understand accessibility and you do accessible design, the benefit is you've created a better product.
Okay, so you just heard from several individuals, one of which is the IBM Chief Accessibility Officer, so she's driving these programs. You also heard from Phil Gilbert, who is the head of IBM Design, and some folks from his team. The reason I wanted to give you a chance to, hear what they have to say is, at IBM, we really try hard to integrate accessibility early on into the design and development of all of our products and solutions, because that's critical, right? Because if you do it as an add-on, sometimes it's too late, right? The product's already delivered, it's already complete, and it's hard to justify the investment in making the product more accessible. So the last myth we're going to dispel is that accessibility is just an American thing. Is it just an American thing? No, right? How many of you have heard about the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities? Absolutely. And we'll see how many folks have been following the developments of that. How many countries have signed the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities? Trickier question. How many? 35 higher. 185, not quite that high. And any other guesses? 105 higher? 159. 159, so I'm going to look that up. Someone just looked that up. That was quick search there. 159. So there's tremendous momentum, right, across the globe with accessibility. There are many governments that are eager to roll out programs and policies, regulations that make accessibility a key target for everything that they do. So that's another myth that we're going to dispel. What are some factors driving accessibility? So there's 7 billion people in the world today, which is a huge number, right? And 1.2 billion have a disability. But there are also other developments like mobile, right? There are mobile phones everywhere now. And the latest count is 6.8 mobile subscriptions in the world. Did you know that there are more people with a mobile phone than there are people with a toothbrush? I don't know, that's a good and toothbrushes are actually cheaper to give away. Even though they might not help connect folks around the world as much. But it is a reality. People are connected, right? And people want to stay connected. But the challenge for all of us, especially working in accessibility, is as these mobile devices become more prevalent, they're not all quite as accessible as they should be, right? And the applications are not as accessible as they should be. So that's a challenge, right? Another factor driving accessibility is the aging population. Right? All of us, as we age, right, gain some type of impairment or another. Our mobility decreases, our hearing starts to decrease, vision starts to deteriorate. It's just a reality. It's a part of life. So in many respects, all of us, one way or another, have a disability. So that's another factor. There's the literacy factor. Right? The reality is many of these applications, especially technology ones that can be used for people with disabilities, can also be used by those with low literacy. Right? So that's another constituent group. And then, of course, last but not least, those with cognitive or learning challenges. That's a fair number of the population as well. I mentioned mobile phones because not only do they now gain popularity, but they've also caused or created situational challenges for all of us, right? How many of you have been driving or you're in a car and your phone rings and you're eager to pick up that phone? How many? Raise your hand. Oh, you know, you've been there. How many have actually picked up the phone even though they know they shouldn't be picking up the phone? Oh, come on, a minute. You've been there, right? So now there are cars that are integrating some phone options. So you can actually speak to your car and tell your car to call, right? Your spouse or your son or daughter. So that's great. But that's another situational challenge that we all face. If you're in a certain environment when you're limited, either physically with your hands or in other aspects, with what you can do at that moment, right? So it's a very situational environment, but that's a reality, right? And then I mentioned earlier the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, but there are other policies and regulations that are driving driving accessibility across the globe, and it's everywhere, right? Across the U.S. and of course in other countries as well. I won't go into details, as I know this afternoon there's some workshops already about policy and regulation, so I know many of you will be going to that. So I'll let you all learn more about that then. But there are also multi-generational developments, right? I mentioned the aging population. Well, we're not developing technology applications for them just for the sake of doing so. The reality is they have a huge spending pocketbook, right? So those, in terms of spending power, $2 trillion that they have, right? So this is a great business opportunity to target that market. And then there's the millennials, right? Today, believe it or not, when you talk about mobile phones, millennials would prefer to lose their car than to lose a mobile phone. Can you believe that? That's pretty astonishing. But they too have a huge spending power, $2.5 trillion. Okay, so that's another huge market opportunity in terms of constituency. So what else is happening? And analysts are starting to pay attention to this. So the Gartner Group recently pointed out that 50% of companies today, by this year, will be investing in some type of accessibility program. That's huge, 50%. Okay, so if you're coming from a company and you're not yet doing it, it's overdue. This is the time to do it. This is the time to leverage the opportunity. So how do you do this? Right? One way is to implement some accessibility accommodations. Right? Another way is to implement some applications for your employees and for your clients and business partners. Right? So these are some ideas for you if you're not already doing this. So that's another key development. But not only are industry analysts paying attention, you have major media now paying attention to accessibility. I mean, just recently, the New York Times ran an article about how Harvard and MIT are being sued, right, for not providing the right types of accommodations, in this case, closed captioning. So they're getting a lot of press. I mean, when major media versus just these niche publications are paying attention, you know this has become a huge topic. So before I talk about what some of the solutions are and what companies done, any questions? I want to give you all a chance to also ask questions along the way as well as at the end. So I know Bill suggested giving you a chance to do so, but we can wait until the end. So IBM's actually been in this space for quite some time. As a corporation, we just celebrated a centennial about 5 years ago. How long do you think we've been in the accessibility space? Let's take some guesses here. And you can try to look this up. I don't think this is yet on online on Google.
1963.
1963 earlier.
1959?
1959 earlier.
1945.
Oh, I heard Karen already. Karen already got the answer. 1914.
Wow.
Good job, Karen. Back in 1914, IBM hired a first employee with a disability. It was a blind scientist. And this is significant. This is well before, the American Disabilities Act, right? So for, many of you might know, this year we're actually celebrating the 25th anniversary of the ADA, which has been very, very exciting. But IBM's been in this space well before that. We've been implementing a number of different policies. We've been very open to the employment of people with disabilities. And we've been innovating to address accessibility. So we actually, I don't know if you know this, invented the first Braille printer back in 1975. We also invented the first, back in 1975. And then also in 1980, we invented the first talking typewriter. Did you know that? I know, people don't even think of IBM being in this space. But so these inventions have been around for some time, and we continue to push the envelope. We continue to challenge ourselves and make sure that as different technologies become more popular, like mobile phones, that we also continue to make those types of devices and applications accessible. Do we have a question?
Who was the blind scientist?
You know what, I can get back to you on the name, but it's so long ago, I know. He is absolutely phenomenal. It slips my mind
What
now.
kind of science?
So it was actually in the field of computer science, because back then that was really popular. So now, of course, IBM's in every space, right? So it's not just the more traditional basic computer science realm, but we also get into deep computing. Now we have healthcare industries. I'm sure many of you heard of Watson, which has been a big focus for us, right? But yes, kudos to Karen. You get an award for that. So anyhow, so we continue to push the envelope on a number of different fronts. And we've gone through an evolution of how we define accessibility, how we address it. So I mentioned earlier, compliance was the original impetus, right, for not only IBM, but for a lot of companies and organizations. But we realized that it's not just about compliance. It's really about the user experience, right? How do we address the end user? How do we make their experience using technology much more pleasant, much easier, much more intuitive, right, much more adaptive? But it's not just a user, because we don't live and work in a silo, right? We work and live in an environment. So you can't deny or ignore the area around us, right? There's ambient noise, right? There are other folks, like in this case today, we have lots of other people around us, right? So we have to factor in the environment. So there's a whole setting that we need to also consider when we talk about accessibility. So when we look at this from a holistic human systems standpoint as well. And in terms of defining accessibility, we have continued to broaden the definition. Because we recognize that if we focus solely on disability, it's only one constituent group. It's an important one, right? But if you can make accessibility relevant to every individual, then you have a much broader base and a much bigger group of folks who are on board with you. So we've opened the aperture every year and made it bigger and broader, so that today we're talking about hyper-personalization, right? So IBM is focused on individuals across the company, across the business partners, clients, individuals across the community, right? And addressing all of their needs regardless of their ability or disability, right? Because we really don't want to focus solely on their disability. So how do we define it today? It's about designing and delivering human-centric solutions, right, that really improve the experience for everyone, regardless of the setting, regardless of which device they're using, and regardless of where they are and what they're doing. So it's a very different outlook. And we want to make technology adaptive. We want to make it usable. We want to make it intuitive, right? And we want to factor in individuals' preferences and their backgrounds and their habits and their settings. I mean, there are a lot of different factors, but that's what makes this so exciting, right? This hyper-personalization concept. And we have a number of different solutions to address this from an accommodation standpoint. We have accessible workplace connections. We have a number of different solutions for mobile devices. So how do you make applications much more accessible, regardless of whether you're using an Android device or an Apple device, whether you're on a tablet or a PC, whether you're tethered to your desk or on the go. So a number of different solutions across that realm as well. And then, from a web user experience, making sure that all of your applications are indeed accessible. We have a compliant application for that, right? So I won't go into detail with all of the solutions, because I don't want to bore you. But regardless of whether you use IBM as an IT vendor or another technology vendor, the point is, this is the perfect time for all of you to leverage the market dynamics, all of the regulatory development to push accessibility and make it a critical part of your company or organization's focus. And make it a priority today for you, right? And leveraging that. And how do you do that? What is the roadmap to a successful accessibility program? So I'll talk a bit about that. So first of all, it's understanding the audience. And this is a given. I mean, for everyone in this room, it's easy, right? Understanding that individuals have all different levels of ability as well as disability, right? So we live and breathe that. So that's the easy part. Integrating accessibility early on. I mentioned earlier the fact that you can do it as an add-on, but it's a lot more expensive, and it's hard to justify the return on investment as an add-on versus doing it early on in the development and design process. But also you want to optimize this, right? Optimize all the applications that you can, make it as usable and accessible as possible. And then last but not least, leading with accessibility, right? As we all know, sometimes it's hard to get others to understand the importance of accessibility. Some of it is just awareness building. Some of it is getting others to buy in to the importance of accessibility. Because when the folks hear about accessibility, I think often accommodations, for those who are not familiar with the business differentiation for it, they think it's going to be expensive. And they're going to shy away from it. And they're going to give you 10 different excuses for why it's not important, or why it shouldn't be done, or why it should be put off, like postponed. But I'm sure many of us have heard that. And at the end of the day, it's a cultural challenge, right? We have to help others understand the importance of this. And once they're on board, then they'll help you drive the program. And so earlier I showed the video of the head of IBM Design. They're talking about the importance of integrating accessibility to design early on. It took a while. It took a while to help them understand that. right? But now that they're fully on board, they want to work with us. And they're excited about this because they now recognize how accessibility can help them, right, do better designing of products and services across the company. Don't give up, right? This is just a roadmap, but and it will take some time to roll out some of these programs. But it's going to be so satisfying, so rewarding to know later on that you've made a difference, not just for your organization, but for the community and society at large. And that's going to continue to keep going. If you are interested in some of these solutions I mentioned earlier from IBM, we are obviously on the web. Do a quick commercial. It's www.ibm.com/able, A-B-L-E. You want more information about some of these solutions that could help you implement your program. Obviously, we're also on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, so you can catch us there. And we talk about why we all are in this space. And of course, many of you have experienced a lot of these challenges firsthand. And some of you might be wondering, well, why is my Lou in this space? I'm standing up here. There's no obvious physical, major physical impairment you can tell. Obviously, I'm in a wheelchair. And you'll be wondering, why am I interested in accessibility? So Karen mentioned earlier that I spent 13 months at a refugee camp. And we did. Back in 1979, our family fled from Vietnam. And we were lucky. After spending 10 days lost at sea and having 9 different pirate ships come and rob us, and whatever little we had brought with us, because we were eager to leave the country, to get to a safe haven. A U.S. carrier did find us and led us in the right direction to refugee camp in Malaysia, whereas Karen mentioned we spent 13 months. And we survived that. And during that time, we lived in this tiny shack that was made of lace canvas bags tied together by these long branches. Our restroom was a little stream that kind of went through our shack, and you had to do your business. You squat over the stream and did your business. But we were lucky. We were among the refugees who did find relatives in the U.S. Who sponsored us, and back, later on in August 1980, we made it to the U.S. And since then, we've been lucky enough to have all these opportunities. So I decided early on in my career to dedicate myself to whichever field I choose, but helping others and making a societal difference in whatever way I can. So I've been doing that. But more recently, just 7 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer and went through a double mastectomy and survived that. And 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with amyloidosis, which is a very rare blood disorder that only 2,000 Americans get a year. And went through a bone marrow transplant and survived that. And last year, I was told that my amyloidosis had relapsed. And in addition to that, in November, I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, which is another blood cancer, different but related. So I'm actually battling 2 blood cancers right now. And just on Monday, I had a chemo infusion, and on Tuesday, I had another chemo infusion. It's the 3rd week of a 4-week cycle. So it's an ongoing challenge. And it is physically exhausting to still be working a full-time job and then trying to live, quote-unquote, as normal life as possible, right? But we all face these challenges. And we all keep trekking. And we all want to play a role. Right? So for me, whatever small role I can play to help others is satisfying. And I'll continue to do my part, no matter how physically exhausting it might be, because it's spiritually uplifting. And I look forward to working with all of you to find ways to spread the gospel, right, about the importance of accessibility, to continue to enable others, to help increase the standard of living for everyone, right, regardless of their ability or disability, and help others live as fulfilling and productive and meaningful a life as possible. And I look forward to working with all of you to do precisely that. Thank you so much.